You're about to listen to the award-winning Stuart Pedasso Show. This show is for ideologically and emotionally mature audiences. If you should not be here, please go away. We'll still be here when you're mature enough to partake. Ooh-ah.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Stuart Pedasso Show. I'm Dave.
I'm Melissa.
And we're actually not, this is not a show from the Rochester Erotic Arts Festival. Thought we'd give you a break. I mean, 2 straight weeks of footage or audio from that. We still have more. There's still, I think next week there's going to be one more show of it. Got to play it for you. I mean, if we sat there for 2 days and did it.
I know.
Yeah. And remember at the beginning, we thought no one was going to come talk.
Oh, and then because it took a few hours, but then they finally did. And it was like, zoom.
Right. So like 3-4 hours of just sitting there watching like half naked people walk by us going, no one will talk to us. We're the nerds. Right. So, and plus I realized that there was a segment of just at the end of Friday when it was just you and me, and you had a couple cocktails and I was just exhausted. So I sounded drunk because I was really tired. And then so that I figured, well, let's not put that on the show because we have all these guests. So that's actually already up on our Patreon. So if you want to hear Melissa and me
a little tipsy,
just kind of like mumbling about boobs for like 20 minutes, you're more than welcome to check us out over on Patreon. It only costs you $1 a month, and that's it. Actually, we usually just mumble about boobs as the other shows.
I mean, that's not that odd,
right? But we had people around us this time, so you can check that out. And then next week we'll do one more episode of our audio from the Rochester Erotic Arts Festival, and then you're just gonna have to wait a year till next year. Sorry, not sorry. So, but already in contact with a couple people we met. We may have some guests coming on who either didn't go on the microphone or maybe we'll bring them back again. The butt plug guy, the glass making guy, I went to his website and it's all like normal stuff.
Yeah.
But like he doesn't sell his glass toys online.
He does on his Instagram. They're on Instagram.
Oh, well, I guess I didn't read.
Yeah, you got to follow them on Instagram. That's what I did.
There you are. Okay.
Yep.
But we will have links to all those stores for people we met at the website. I just have to find time.
I am enjoying the cannabis pipe that I purchased from him.
Oh, good.
Yes. Good. It's great.
So as we've been threatening for over a month now, we finally got and I'm just, Matt, I've been butchering your name, and so I'm not going to do it to your face. Okay. So I'm just going to have you do it. The author of If It Sounds Like a Quack, this brand new book. And if you haven't bought it yet, there's links on our website and there'll be links in the show notes. And after we get done talking, you're going to go out and get it because this book's a trip, man.
Because you want to.
So, Matt, I'm sorry. Could you please just your name so I don't butcher it anymore, please?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how to pronounce it either, actually. But let's take a stab. Hangul Tetling.
Hangul Tetling. I think I had it right. I just was so slow and awkward with it. It sounded like I was doing it wrong.
I hyphenated with my wife, and ever since then, like when I say it, I feel like I kind of run out of air halfway through.
Okay.
You hyphenated with your wife too.
Yeah, I gotta ask. So how did you decide to hyphenate, Matt?
I feel like if I made that decision today, it would be like nobody would bat an eye. But this is, going back a little bit, maybe just like 15, 20 years or so. And I'm a progressive guy. I was uncomfortable with the rules, the patriarchal rules for lineage. Also, my wife was one of 3 daughters, which meant that her family name was not going to be carried on in any way, shape, or form unless we did this. So it's a lot of awkward syllables all mashed in together. That's the way. It was worth it. It was worth it.
Yeah, I ended up hyphenating my name because I tried to outsmart my wife and I lost.
Would you make a bet?
No, I just said, honey, I'm going to do whatever you're going to do because I just really assumed she was just going to keep her name. And then she busts out with, oh, I'm hyphenating. Oh, shit.
Oh, yeah. And then I got married a little over a year ago, and yeah, we just both kept our names.
I'm not.
Well, we don't have kids together, so we're like, why even?
I'm not
cares?
treating it like it's a horrible thing. I just that's just how it ended up happening.
It's your story's funny,
and I am progressive, and because I am known as Green Man around in some parts, and so that's it has nothing to do with whether I'm progressive or not. It's just sometimes I just outthink myself, and that was one of the times.
Yeah,
I'm like wide open. Yeah, I'm supportive of however anybody wants to do their thing. I do wish I feel like there ought to be a tool out there, like an app that somehow measured the likelihood of different names getting passed on, or like whatever sort of criteria that's just sort of help people treat that as an open question and gave some a little bit of feedback as they come to make that decision. Because it is a decision you typically, ideally, are making for the rest of your life, and there's not a lot of guidelines out there for it.
That's true. And that's okay. I mean, again, I like telling the story, but it's totally cool. I have no problem with that. Although I used to be at the front of lines, now I'm at the back because my name changed. But it's weird. These people in the back, I don't know how you guys dealt with this for so long. This is...
Oh, because my last name is Schroeder, so I was in the back always.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Oh, jeez.
All right. So, Matt, look, I'm not going to let you do this. Let's do the elevator. So you meet the elevator speech about the book. And then because I got a few little notes on this piece of scrap paper, and that's kind of how I do things. Oh, and I'll tell you this. On purpose, I do almost no background research. I mean, I know a little bit about your history, but I do that on purpose. It's like we're just meeting kind of thing.
Oh,
and
cool.
Like we're at a party, and I like to ask questions as if I don't know the person, because I really don't. So rather than like, what your shoe size is and where you went to grade school, and then I just ask you like I'm curious, but I already looked it up. No, I really don't know what your shoe size is or where you went to grade school, but that's really not on my list. So real quick, the elevator speech on If It Sounds Like a Quack. Not only what's it about, but my first question would be, how did you get there to end up writing this?
Yeah, it's kind of a weird book to describe. I found this because I've been going out promoting it over the last couple of weeks, and it's about a lot of different things, and it comes at them from a lot of different angles. But I guess the simplest answer is I went out and I spoke to a bunch of people who have come into conflict with the system, the medical authorities and the public health authorities, because they thought that they had come up with a miracle cure, which in the book I call like the one true cure for everything. Yes. And it's about how these people at the extreme fringes of alternative medicine, and I'm not coming after the yoga people, I'm not coming after chiropractic, but people who are at the extreme fringes who have very, very odd ideas about how the health system ought to be revolutionized, have a really big impact on all of us in ways that we don't necessarily understand or realize. And so I would say in a broad sense, that's what the book is about. I tell the stories of these 6 or 7 folks, and in the course of learning about their stories, we learn about a broken healthcare system, an even more broken suggestion for alternative systems, and how that's impacting all of us.
I'm not going to lie. As I was reading the book and you're telling these different stories, and you definitely have at least through the 2 you've written 2 books, right? I haven't missed any.
That's right.
Okay. So in both of those books, you have a style, which I think with Quack, it's way more pronounced, where it's not necessarily completely linear. It does bounce around from person to person. And so I was wondering where the hell you were going, and I'm not going to give away how you make that connection, but towards the end, when the lines, the storylines start to connect, I was like, oh, I see where he's going with this. And so was that planned right from the beginning for all of these stories to connect, or did it just work out that way?
Well, I just kind of like, my personal preference is I don't like a story. I don't like a book, a nonfiction book, where every chapter kind of feels like a little island unto itself. Mm-hmm. So like, I think a lot of maybe the more conventional way to approach it would have been like, oh, okay, I'm going to tell person A's story, and then I'm going to tell person B's story, and so on. And so you wind up with, maybe 6 or 7 sections of the book, each dealing with a different person and maybe some principle that they exemplify or something. But I really want a book that reads more like a novel, so I'm really conscious of like, I want characters that I'm talking to have arcs where I want them to start in one place and end in a different place. And I want there to be a sort of climax or big moment of understanding for the reader about, 4/5 of the way through. And then I want to wrap things up, and so that's like my goal. And so that's what led me to do it like this. And so the book is broken into kind of like 4 sections or phases, and each person we visit in each of those 4 phases to see the kind of like surprising parallels that their life have.
Yeah, the end when that came together. So you made me think of something. So now I'll put the minute amount of research I've actually done, just from going to your website. So you, before the books came out, you're an investigative reporter. Is that a good way of putting it?
Yeah, okay. Sure.
So that's nonfiction as well, but you're saying how the books you're trying to have them read more like a novel. Do you write fiction as well?
No, like when I was a kid, I wanted to write fiction.
Okay.
I think like a lot of people, but when I kind of fell into journalism, I was just so delighted to be writing anything and getting paid for it. I was like, this is fantastic, and yet, what always was the appeal of writing to me were, narratives. And so even when I was writing for, small weekly and daily newspapers, I was always looking for ways to kind of bring those more generalized fiction tools into that realm. And I found with a book, there's just so much more room to play around, and the rules are much less rigid and conformist. So I'm really able to kind of go wild in some ways.
So if you really under another name, like a pseudonym, you wrote romance novels, you wouldn't tell us, would you?
I would not. I can neither confirm nor deny that.
Fair enough. That's fair. Okay, good.
Breaking
news.
I know.
From the Stuart Vanessa
Show. No, I'll tell you. I have a like a teen vampire novel sitting in a desk drawer that will probably never see the light of day. But
Matt, yeah, I am going to take every alternative cure I can just to live longer than you, so that I can bring it out. I'm going to take every pill, every laser, every damn thing. I'll pray to every alien and God
that comes your way.
I will pray to the planet Zorkon. I will do everything I have to live past you. I will make sure someone reads this.
I also wanted to bring up your writing style because as I told Dave when I first got here, how much I enjoyed your writing style. And I mean, I do read nonfiction. I read probably more nonfiction than fiction. I do like to read biographies and historical books and things like that, a lot of those, but I do like some fiction. And one of my favorite fiction authors is Douglas Copeland. And I just finished one of his books to read your book. I'm like, all right, I got to hurry up and finish this book so I can pick up this other book. And so I finished it, and I don't know if you know, I don't know if you've read any of his books or not, but he just happens to be a favorite fiction writer of mine, and he writes similarly. And I think that's why I found it so easy to read your book, because I like that style. And Douglas Copeland, when he introduces characters, he also does the same thing. He talks about the characters throughout the book. It's not just, here's the story, okay, here's the next story, and then here's the next story, which, I mean, I can read those are fine too, but yeah, this style just seems more, I don't know, it's just more fun. It's just more interesting. Yeah. Anyway, I love it. I think it's great.
Yeah. I have not read anything by his. I think there was a book that he wrote that I wanted to read, but I never got around to it. Was it called Shampoo Planet or something?
Oh yeah,
like that?
That book's great. That's his second novel. His books are such quick reads. You could pick one up and read it in a weekend so easy.
Oh, I should. Although I'm a new dad, so
yeah, I was gonna say,
Oh, I didn't have any time to read. But I will say, if you made some time for you to read, maybe during feedings or something, pick up a book.
Read it to the baby.
The baby might enjoy Shampoo Planet. I can say that you'll notice your style. Like he does the same thing in Shampoo Planet. He does the characters go on through the book. There's not just a standard story, and it's really cool, and I like it.
It's on my list. Yeah, I definitely like to do that. It sounds really good.
So, okay, I can connect this with in terms of style because what I'm noticing, this is going from style into substance. There's just the research you obviously have done. Well, first of all, the bibliography is like a chapter of its own. I mean, it's just ridiculous. And there's no like citations it's not like that kind of nonfiction where there's citations and stuff. So really, if you really want to know where a fact came from, you're going to have to go through the bibliography and figure it out for yourself, which is not a bad thing. I'm just telling folks who are listening. But dude, you've got stuff in here that connects to the stories. Like, did all this research? Because there's some real, not archaic's not the word I'm looking for. There's just some real, I'm not going to say it seems random, but it's like, how the fuck did you think to look that up? The two things I wrote, like how many zombie movies there were in a specific year.
Oh, yes. I know what you're talking about.
And what was, there was one other one too. The weather in February and March of 2008. I mean, I'm like, dude, does the Weather Channel have like an archive?
No,
I don't.
The weather thing is like definitely like a standard tool in my toolbox. Like, there are websites out there that give historical weather reports, right? And so that's like the first thing that I turn to almost. Like when I'm trying to build a scene is like, okay, what was the weather that day? And then I might go to like Google Maps and like virtually go down that street to see what's on that street, and all that sort of thing. So like,
that's fucking genius. I'm sure plenty of people already know this, but that's fucking genius.
Well, the thing to do that while you're writing a book, I think
I'm not a writer, so obviously I wouldn't think about doing that, but that's pretty genius in my book.
I do it out of fear because I am desperate to keep you turning pages, right? And I live in fear of the guy who reads, and gets to the 40-page mark and then is like, this is boring. So I'm always like, looking for those little dramatic cliffhangers, those colorful details, those random facts that are interesting enough for you to nudge your friend and say,
they're
hey,
like
did
story
you know?
fillers.
Yeah. Okay.
They're like little bits of like chocolate chips in your cookie.
Yeah, well, okay. I got a bone to pick with a couple of your random facts here because
go for it.
You basically tore apart my puberty. I mean, really, Lindsay Wagner and Elle Macpherson, you're killing me, man. What's your next book? You going to tell me Olivia Newton-John was a Nazi? I mean, come on, man, you're killing me with this.
Oh my!
They like bad boys. They like bad boys.
Lindsay Wagner,
boys.
I understand after The Bionic Woman, I don't know what her career was, but really the Elle Macpherson one really hurt. I mean, of all people, the guy who started the vaccine causes autism, that was her boyfriend. That hurt.
Really. It hurt me when I saw it. It's like, well, here's this guy who's like, played a foundational role in hurting America, right? Yeah. And that's his
it's still going
punishment as he shows up in the White House with Elle Macpherson on his arm.
The old Steve Martin stand-up line, and to think of all the hours I held up her poster with one hand. Totally stolen. I cited it though.
No, you did.
Okay, so now if you're curious, what do you say about Elle Macpherson? Well, you gotta get it. If it sounds like a quack, you're gonna have to go get the book. So I'm not gonna tell you. Same with Lindsay Wagner. So you're gonna have to go look it up. I found that it was interesting. First of all, I'll say this: it's this really not a huge focus of the book, but especially towards the end, as I was pulling out of it with the pandemic, I started really questioning just how accurate, or if it was like corrupt, whatever, the CDC. And so it was just interesting as I was kind of looking at the profit-driven misinformation versus the profit-driven correct information, right? And that
Right.
like the actual status of our healthcare system versus I know we should give the people in your book like a name, like a group name, like the
One True
Anti-Justice
Purists?
League or something. I don't know. Yeah, something. But I mean, it was just that it was fascinating how like both seem to be fucking things up.
Yeah,
But-
yeah. I mean, and this is like one of the things in the book is like I'm not offering a full-throated defense of like the medical establishment, right?
Mhm.
I throw a lot of rocks at their house, but
There's no heroes in this book. Just gonna say that.
yeah. They're all silly. Everybody is silly. We're all deeply flawed. But the thing is like there are a lot of flaws at the CDC and the FDA and going on behind the scenes in your doctor's office. But all of those institutions have some level of transparency and accountability. And they fail all the time. There are problems. There's corruption. There's reasons to complain and work for better outcomes and all that. But the idea that they're all secret agents of an elite cartel of blood drinking people or
Right.
aliens from another planet, evil aliens from another planet. That's where it goes from like this kind of like little kernel of truth to something that's just completely outlandish, right? And it also kills me that people look at the system, they say, oh, the system is bad because it doesn't have enough transparency and accountability. So my solution is I'm going to go listen to somebody who has no transparency and no accountability whatsoever and just kind of hang my hopes for my personal health on that. That's the difference, right? Like one is flawed and the other is, has no redeeming value to it.
Yeah, I mean, but you write about them. Okay, so in comparison, and I actually only have at some point just one thing about your first book, but not what you think it is. I did actually not about the book itself, but I just like you definitely call these people out more, like it more blatantly. If that makes you basically
meaning institutional medicine or
no
the one true curist.
Yeah, the one. Thank you, the one true curist. You definitely say like this is wackadoo and this is whereas the first book you kind of did, but it wasn't as like out front in your assessment like that. And but these folks really. I mean, was there? It really seemed like you were getting the impression that the folks that you talked about here, the one true curists, they really believed what they were doing.
Yeah, like I get asked that
I wondered
lot.
about that too. Yeah,
and just to give your listeners like an idea, like their ideas are way out there. One guy thought that you could cure all diseases with like a universal healing light that could be harnessed in lasers that he sold, like handheld lasers for up to $12,000. Another guy would treat cancer by injecting baking soda solutions into your veins and charge you, $2,000 to $5,000 a day to come stay at his Miracle Ranch. There was a woman who cured everything with leeches, but they all. It's like, so some of the beliefs are so outlandish that you think, well, that can't possibly be true. Like they can't really believe that. They must just be hucksters. But in fact, I think that most or all of them do believe it. Like most of the folks that I spoke to have treated their own family members with these cures, or they've treated themselves with these cures. Even the ones that it's kind of like questionable whether they believe it or not, I think they kind of believe it, but they're willing to kind of like fake it till they make it. Kind of like the great spirit of American entrepreneurialism, where they're willing to go out and lie and deceive and
hey, it sounds like this show. Sorry. Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
No.
There's no need to lie and deceive us.
Hey, we've been faking it for 15 years, man. One of these days we might make it.
Tomorrow you go viral, man.
That's right.
It's just I think they do believe in what they're doing, and that's part of what makes them so dangerous, is because their egos and their self-identities are so hung on this idea that they have come up with something that's going to like cure all mankind or all humankind of everything, right? I mean that's like we all like to think we're important. We all have egos of some sort and have a self-image where we want to go out and improve the world in some way. And these guys are just that on steroids, their self-identity is so pegged on this idea that they're going to revolutionize healthcare that they become super radicalized. Like when they butt heads with authorities, they become, freedom fighters in a way. And they are, a hair away from taking up arms against the government. That's how radicalized they are. They're all willing to go to prison or jail for their beliefs. And so, I think in most cases it's very sincere, and so in a sense they're all kind of victims of their own delusions, as well as the public who are big, maybe more sympathetic victims, but they too are victims.
Yeah, when the evidence showed that what they were doing either didn't work or actually caused harm, there just seemed to be a way they would convince themselves that no, this is the way. I mean, like even with the evidence in front of them that stuff was not what they said it was. It's the studies that show that no matter some of the people who believe in this stuff, when you confront them with the evidence, they dig in deeper because of the cognitive dissonance. They just can't handle they can't handle the truth. Yeah, right.
They can't handle the truth.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and that's what all of these stories seem to show. It's just really kind of fascinating, and it's really a glimpse into I'll use your term on steroids, but the folks that when we sit there and go, how can they believe? I'll just use it because of the news headlines today. How can they believe Tucker Carlson? Well, even with evidence that shows that this guy's full of it, they're still tuning in. And just like these folks who are still trying to sell this stuff.
Absolutely. And the difference between that and the Bear book, the first book, which it was more subtle and kind of less taking a political stance, because in the town where the Bear book took place, they were doing damage to the subjects of the book, but not the sort of damage that these folks are doing. Those folks were, kind of subverting the democratic process to try to get their own political philosophy adopted. These people are criminals, at the end of the day. They're actively harming members of the public, and they have victims, and many of them, their victims include, death tolls. And so they're just a very different class of subject.
So do you plan on, I hope this doesn't thwart your plans.
He's got a vampire book right in his desk. So
that's true. If I screw your stuff up, you got that as a backup. So when the paperback comes out, will there be a follow-up with these folks to where are they now kind of thing?
I might, for the Bear book, when the paperback came out, publisher kind of called and said hey, no pressure, don't want to hamper your artistic direction, but can you throw another chapter together? Do you have anything more to say on this? If so, we're open to more. And I assume we'll have that same conversation when this book comes out. If this book seems the same kind of success. And there are updates. Two of the people who feature heavily in the book, Robert Young, the baking soda injection guy, and Torben Sundegaard, a faith healer from Florida. They're both incarcerated right now. Okay. At the end of the book, they were out there, doing their thing very very passionately and defiantly in some ways. And so there's definitely more to say.
Cool. So, it's interesting. Both, well, obviously the first book because it's in the title, but there's also references in Quack to libertarianism. So
Yeah,
I have to ask, is being a green, and I've dealt sometimes positively, but also sometimes in opposed to libertarians in my political, I won't call it a career because I haven't made money. I've just spent money on it. But in my interactions with libertarians, so is that I would assume this isn't like a conscious effort in your fight against libertarians, right? It just worked out that way. The things that you're writing about just happens to cross paths.
Yeah, the first book, the Bear book, I actually did not know that libertarians had a presence in that community when I set out to write that book. And for folks who don't know, it's the nutshell of that book is libertarians came to a town to turn it into a libertarian utopia by taking it over, by outvoting the locals on public policy. And then the town started having bear problems. And so the book is about how those two things are connected. But I went out to write a book about unusual bear activity in that town. And only slowly did it dawn on me.
That's awesome. Okay.
That there was something else that was very unique about this town and those libertarians. And, and I don't really have I don't think libertarians are evil. I just think their ideas, while they have merit in I like their voice at the table, I guess I would say, because I think they do provide a useful check on government overreach. Their opinions, while extremist, do balance out another extreme. But I certainly don't want them running anything. I don't want them in charge of anything.
It's kind of an oxymoron, isn't it?
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, right. And so for this book, I was going through again, and I kind of had an idea fairly early in the writing process that the theme of medical freedom was going to emerge pretty strongly. And it was no surprise to me at that point that libertarians, were at the, kind of like behind the scenes, massaging the medical freedom movement. Yeah, that's their brand.
Look, Matt, this shouldn't persuade you or dissuade you in any shape or form, but seriously, if your first book was just about bears, I probably would have never read it. I'm just being honest with you. That wouldn't have caught my attention.
Well, I mean, my passion is much more like animals and biology than politics. Honestly, okay. Politics can be really boring. To me, bears are really, really interesting.
Well, you made both of them interesting, and that's awesome. But I just honestly, my friend wouldn't have said, "Hey, I just heard about this book about bears." That wouldn't have happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how I got turned on to it.
It really became like the book was like, became an argument against libertarianism. I've seen people use it as like a verb. They got libertarian walk into a bear.
Yeah.
Anytime they try to start some utopia.
Okay, so two quick questions, and one, they're both kind of about that book, but not exactly. So
whatever you want to talk about, David.
I gotta ask you. I have to ask you, dude. There's music videos about the book, about the bear book. How the hell did you end up with I saw at least 10? There had to have more. How are there music videos about libertarianism? I actually worked really hard to make that happen. I wish I could just say it's just spontaneous, because I'm so great, Dave. People just want to write music videos about my work. No, I was like, wow. First time author, in a panic, in a sweat. I told you how afraid I am of people not turning the page in my book. Mm-hmm. And so first time author. Most first-time authors disappear into the woodwork, right? They fade away quickly. So I was working really hard to try to build a little bit of buzz in a fun way that would further my cause and get people to understand that my writing is fun and quirky. And so I hosted a song contest called "A Musician Walks into a Bear."
and I asked a bunch of amateur musicians to do a music video that was inspired in some way by the book.
Wait, did you say amateur or immature?
Yes.
A little bit of both.
A little bit of both. Yes. Go watch the videos.
But then, so yeah, some of those videos are so fun and incredible, and I was just delighted by them. But then, an actual professional musician, Billy Bragg, also did a song about the book.
No shit. That I did not know.
And that was like the best day of my life. Billy Bragg is like righteous, you know. He is damn. He is a man among men, as far as I'm concerned. He's like the Pete Seeger of our generation. And so when he wrote that song and put it out, I was just delighted. I was over the moon.
So I haven't gotten to it yet. It's on my list of things my many list of things to do, but I am going to grab those songs because part of what the Stuart Badasso media empire, we have a 24-hour internet radio station, and I am going to incorporate some of those. Tunes. And now that I know Billy Bragg wrote one, I got to go find that one. I missed that. Yeah, no, we're totally going to put those into the library and play them.
Shoot me an email when you do, because I would like to let those artists know, because they worked hard on those songs. They would be so happy and delighted to hear that they're getting a little bit of exposure.
I will totally do that. And speaking of famous people and exposure, here's my second thing. As I'm reading the Bear book, Matt, all I'm thinking of is this has to be a movie.
Yes.
No, this has to be a movie.
Yeah,
if you're not shopping it, I will go on Twitter and start harassing Susan Sarandon or something. That has to be a movie. Now,
Susan Sarandon would love this.
That's exactly the only person I thought of. Susan Sarandon would make this into a movie.
Cocaine Bear made it. That was a journalism story.
Yeah, I will totally bang that drum because I just totally. Now, of course, it's going to be once Hollywood gets a hold of it, it will be even more of a farce. It just will. So as long as you go into it knowing that it's never the way the book is, I still want to slap Peter Jackson for The Hobbit. I just really, I can't.
Yeah, that what a letdown. Yeah, I got to see the original Lord of the Rings. The first one. Like I got to go to an advanced screening because I was a college newspaper at that time. Deal, man. Shit. Well, no, not because of who I was, but just because I had this student newspaper, and so that was the first screening that I ever went to. I used to go to them all the time. This was in Chicago, so it'd be like the screening room with Roger Ebert, and that was the first screening that they ever frisked for, where they wanted to frisk and make sure we didn't have recording devices.
Oh.
Like a gun? I know.
I thought maybe you were bringing in The Ring or something. I was like, what are you looking for?
We need like guns?
Oh, yeah, it's true. Yeah, you're right. I hadn't even thought of that. That's funny.
But as far as Hollywood goes, yeah, like the rights are not available. The audiovisual rights are, there are discussions and talks. But I've learned that 1% of properties for which there are discussions and talks actually make it all the way to the screen. And
wait. You're saying there are discussions?
There are discussions.
Oh, okay. So this isn't my original idea. Okay, that's fine. No, that's fine.
Thank you.
No, I will. If there, again, if there's anybody you want me to bang on, I will go on social media and say, hey, make this happen, Susan.
Hey, if you harass Susan Sarandon into taking an interest, I don't see how I can come out a loser in that.
All right.
He's like, yeah, it's done.
Oh, yeah.
No, dude, done.
Like I literally see you like writing a note. You're writing a note.
I am.
Harass. Does the note say harass Susan?
Well, it just says Susan Sarandon. I'll know what harass. I know what part harass is. What? Like I've never trolled anyone on the internet before. Ever. Yeah, right. Today.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I've got nothing to do. I got tons of time. I'll just hang out. No, honey, I can't hang with you tonight. I got Susan Sarandon to harass. So let me come back to Quack. So I'm just curious about this as I was reading this and then again, for looking at your website, and I got a gist of like, how you roll. It's from the first book as well. So if you don't mind sharing, what do you think is the most anti-establishment medical intervention that you've done or that you would be willing to do? Now, I don't mean what's in the book. I just meant in general. I'm not talking about lasers or whatever those supplements were. I can't remember wasn't it something weird that you clean pools with or something?
Yeah. That guy.
No, not that stuff. But you mentioned yoga at the beginning. I mean, what's their most alternative?
Yeah, sure. I do yoga. Have done yoga. Wish I had the willpower to do it a little more.
Me too.
Because I enjoy it. I suppose. This kind of qualifies. All right. First of all, I'll say like I'm a science guy in general. Like I like science-based evidence in my medical treatments.
Mm-hmm.
And
you're a nut.
Yeah, I know.
Like science. Crazy. That's so nutty.
I know. But I would totally undergo cryonic freezing in the hopes that I could be brought back in the future.
Ooh,
and I know that's
interesting.
That is a hot take, or more accurately, a cold take. I
lost track of that movement since after they did Ted Williams' head in a bucket.
Weirdly, I kind of feel like it's like a little bit of a libertarian flavor to it, because people who are like, super free market, and who have an inflated sense of self-importance. These are the ones who think that they deserve to come back.
Oh yeah, because they can be the ones with the one true cure. Absolutely.
Yeah, right. And I think like clearly the science is not there now, but it seems plausible to me that there is a chance. Maybe it's a 1 in 1,000 chance that you could come back. But if there was a chance that I could grasp onto and get to actually see the future and see how things turn out, why wouldn't I do that? To me, it's an appealing idea.
Yeah, as long as you don't like off yourself early to do it. Like you were going to die anyway, right?
Yeah, no, yeah.
It's such an interesting thing. That is so interesting because I didn't even really think about the spiritual implications of that until just now. I'm like, because I always thought about like, oh yeah, cryogenic. That sounds really interesting. And you read about people who were really into. Didn't Walt Disney want to get cryogenically frozen or something?
That's the rumor that he is.
Yeah.
I think so.
Whatever. Yeah. But I mean, but then you have the whole spiritual aspect of that, where people are like, well, is your spirit even still with you? Of people who believe in that kind of thing.
So you'd be up in heaven going, anybody got a coat?
I don't know. Like, there's my body down there. It's just like chilling out in that freezer. Whatever.
Things aren't very warm.
Jesus. Reading the newsletter of the Cryonic Society every month.
Oh my God. They probably make you subscribe to that.
Well, I've done, okay, so if we're talking about some people still think that chiropractors are a quack thing, and I've gone to a chiropractor. I would like to go back to going to my chiropractor again because I really liked it, but I really believe in chiropractic medicine. I found real...
Jump on your back.
He doesn't jump on my back, dude. It's more than that. But I do know that some people still think of that as quack medicine, and I thought that's been kind of a thing that people have already disproven that, and that it isn't quack medicine. But I have talked to people who still don't think that that's a real thing.
I mean, if your chiropractor is telling you that they can treat your back pain, that's legit. If they're telling you they can cure your cancer, then that's quackery.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
I can clear up your UTI. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. No, my chiropractor's never said that. Right. Matter of fact, I don't even think my chiropractor's even said he can cure my pain. He's just like, you can make ways of managing it. I can make your spine go in a certain, he can crack your spine to a certain way so it's straight, so it's not making my hips go in all sorts of crazy ways and shit.
Ironically, today, well, just like an hour ago, maybe, like right behind me, wherever my thumb is one of those salt lamps. That's
I noticed that was over there.
Yeah, that was my daughter's. She bequeathed it to me when she ran away from home.
Himalayan salt?
Yeah. So I was like, I looked it up. I was like, and all the things said, nah, it's just a pretty light.
I do like the way they look though. I don't really I don't know about that either. That seems like quack medicine to me too, but it does look pretty when it's lit up.
Right. It's a pretty light. So I was like, all right, she gave me a pretty light. If you want to, I haven't licked it.
I'm not licking it, but I bet
you have these like Himalayan salt slabs that you can cook on.
Now that's a delicious idea.
Oh,
yeah.
I'm not cooking on that.
Oh no, Himalayan sea salt, that pink Himalayan sea salt is delicious to cook with.
So would it be safe to say, I don't know if you want this labeled this way, but would you be safe to say that the book, if not you, maybe there might be a hint of anti-capitalism in there? Maybe a little? As you're trying to sell books? Sorry.
I think so. Yeah, right. Yeah. Buy my book. Find out why capitalism is so bad.
Well, wait, we say here, in fact, that the radio station has IDs that say we're anti-capitalism, but we're not anti-commerce. So there is a difference. Yeah.
There we go. I guess I haven't put the sort of deep thought into it that I think people who are really into these sorts of questions ask. But, it's clear to me that like unfettered capitalistic enterprises have, wrecked lives, wrecked societies, wrecked communities, wrecked countries, wrecked the environment, and well-regulated capitalism can be harnessed to do none of those things, right? And so I think there are like real deep-seated flaws in the capitalistic system. Have you ever heard of a B Corp?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, like a B corporation, right?
No, go ahead. No, go ahead, Matt. Yeah.
Well, one of the problems with most corporations is that they literally cannot legally satisfy the requirements of their stockholders if they try to do something ethical that undercuts profits.
Yep.
But a B corporation is a different structure where one of the factors that they measure is, social good. And I think one potential good reform would be to do something to encourage or mandate that a lot more companies had to be B Corps. It just doesn't seem that hard to me. Yes, I don't know. It's a big topic. There's a lot of problems, and it does get frustrating sometimes that any attempt to do anything for the public seems to get labeled as, communist propaganda,
Yeah.
I say that like that's a bad thing.
I know. There's
kidding, kind of not kidding, kind of kidding, kind of.
The B Corp thing is just, I'm not an expert in finance or anything like that. So I'm not going to say I know exactly. I do know people who could probably expound on it forever. But to me, like the B Corps, to me with capitalism just is like jumbo shrimp kind of thing. It just doesn't, it doesn't really, something my spidey sense says, something's just not quite right here. I mean, I get the idea of it, but I am not able to explain exactly what. So would you think, I'm taking it another step further and I am getting political, and we don't have to do it for very long, but I mean, do you think money out of politics could be the answer? Let's just say with healthcare.
Yeah. In the Bear book, there was a guy who said, a government without capitalism is simple public representation. Capitalism without government is slavery, right? And so, I mean, I think like that's a really simple nutshell that kind of like sums up what the impact can be. It really is. Money is absolutely corrupting. It twists everything. And like public financing, complete transparency, not letting corporations. What's the big court case that protects corporate donations is free speech?
Oh yeah. Oh man, there's like two or three of them. And I get them mixed up. The Vallejo one, and then there's the one I think it was a train company, a railroad company one, and I'm blanking on the name, and that was accidentally written by like a clerk. It was like, it wasn't even an actual decision. It was something written by a clerk that's just been cited a million times, and I would need to look it up. I'm so bad at like remembering names and dates, said the guy with a degree in history. I really am though. I know how to look stuff up, but
no, it's rough. And
I can't imagine the stuff you've got. Jesus, man. if you don't have like notebooks full of stuff, I don't know how you do it, to be honest with you. So I want to ask if you would mind, if you think it's a little too much and it gives away too much of the book, I understand, but I'll be real specific. I'll say this much. If you like zombies, you should buy this book. And you're like, Dave, what? You're just going to have to trust me on this. But there's a specific thing I would like you to speak about, because and it combines something else that we talked about earlier in the show. So what the hell? The CDC put out a paper about zombies.
I've heard that as well.
First, I heard about it until I read the book.
No,
so
I heard that before.
Would you mind telling this story while I grab another beer?
Yeah, absolutely. So what happened was right around 2009 or so, zombies were getting really, really hot in pop culture, in American pop culture.
Yeah.
So we had, I think that was the point. Some researcher found out that like Google searches for zombies in 2009 outstripped Google searches for hobbits, vampires, and
that was another of those odd, interesting
werewolves. I think was combined.
Things that you know.
So somebody else did the research. I just cited it because I thought it was so interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, and like you were hinting at earlier, like just zombies became this big pop cultural phenomenon, and so at the CDC, somebody said, "Hey, everyone's talking about zombies. Nobody wants to talk about public health preparations for natural disaster. What do you do if a hurricane comes through your community? So let's give that hurricane advice wrapped up in a nice candy shell, right? Let's zombie flavored pustule covered candy shell, and let's put out a public safety program, campaign awareness thing in the event of a zombie apocalypse." And so they did it, and all the advice was like the same as what you do for a hurricane. Keep water in your bathtub, stock up on food, conserve the lights, whatever.
And that really came back to bite him in the brain, didn't it? You're welcome.
Yeah.
Take it upon.
Mic drop. I mean, at first it was great. So by one measure, it was fantastic because so many people tuned in and got the information they were trying to disseminate. But the kind of like unforeseen consequence, and the CDC wasn't the only one to do it. They did it first, and then some other public health agencies followed suit.
Right.
Everybody was like, "Oh, this is great. Let's all talk about zombies. Let's cloak all our messaging in zombies." And there are a lot of really funny examples, but I'll spare you those details. And what happened was other groups were also trying to pull the zombie trope or the zombies cultural cachet into their own political aims, right? And notably, the gun rights movement thought like, okay, everyone's talking about zombies. Let's cloak our messaging in zombies, right? And so you have NRA conventions where you can buy zombie targets that you shoot, and realistic blood spatters come out of them, and blah blah blah. And so then some zombie themed militias came up where they were doing survivalist training that were zombie themed. And the difference between that and hurricane survivalist training is that in the CDC's version of a zombie apocalypse, everyone's focusing on how to keep everyone safe. And if you're a militia preparing for a zombie apocalypse, you're just thinking about how many life forms you can shoot, or how many undead you can shoot, and trying to go out and get tactical and build up a body count with that. And if you think about it, the zombie apocalypse narrative is very much a right-wing fantasy.
Oh, definitely.
Right. It's this idea because society has broken down. The public health officials are dead. They've been eaten. Right. And so it's this idea of like rugged individualism and taking up arms and, defending your family, which I get, I understand that impulse just as a person living in America. like we all kind of like want to be pushed to that place where we can, take up arms without any fear of consequences.
To happen.
Oh, well, because if it was the left wing doing it, it would be pirates with syphilis.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, that's, so yeah, I get it. I see where you're going.
And so, over time, all this buzz about zombies led some people to believe that zombies were actually factually real.
Right, because some people don't understand satire and irony. Yes.
Correct. And conspiracy theories are out there with competing mutually exclusive storylines about how zombies are real and where they come from and what they are. But they almost all cite the CDC plan as evidence that the government knows that zombies are real and exist. And almost all of the zombie conspiracy theories believe that liberals are more likely to become zombies than conservatives. They all have some sort of like explanation woven into their zombie theory that shows that, liberals are going to be undead monsters, which is, of course, a real dehumanization tactic that in other settings has precipitated or been a precedent or a build-up for genocidal campaigns, right? And so it's all fun and games until somebody goes out and starts actually shooting zombies, which sadly has happened in some rare isolated incidents. And you don't want these militias to get rolling.
Marjorie Taylor Greene said there were zombies in New York City when she was there. They were marijuana zombies. They were marijuana zombies. So silly.
Some of my slips,
I don't know,
maybe.
I know, but it was just so silly. She was really ranting about people. Like she was talking about like it really honestly sounded, and I'm not trying to, put down anybody or their drugs or what they do, but it's really sounded like she was really comparing people who were walking around with a joint in their hand to like people who are on heroin walking around, and like she was describing it in that kind of vein.
Reefer madness.
Well, that's one of the things that's so like insidious about the conspiracy theories is like sometimes you use zombie and you just mean it like a person who didn't get any sleep. Oh, you're sleepwalking around like a zombie, or it's just like an insult, like you're like a mindless sheep. Like folks on the right love to call folks on the left, sheeples or mindless followers. And so so they'll use zombie in that sort of context. But there's this like spectrum of what that word means, and some people are hearing that as like a literal description of undead, and that's where it gets dicey.
Yeah. All right. So I'm not like, we're not totally wrapping up here, but I want to make sure I say it again. If it sounds like a quack is the name of the book, right? And it's out now, right? It's out.
It's out.
It's out. So y'all need to get this. This is really great. I mean, if you don't want to do it because you like to read, do it for Matt's new baby.
Yeah. If you don't like to read, it makes a fantastic doorstop, paperweight.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very bright colored yellow.
Yeah.
So it might emanate.
If you get lost in the forest or something, it can help.
Zombies are chasing you in the dark. No,
you can.
This is true.
You can hit a zombie with that.
If you tape like a stack of 10 or 12 copies on your chest, you can actually stop a bullet with my book.
Yeah. If you're mistaken for a zombie by some libertarian, it'll stop the bullet. Absolutely.
Do it for safety. For safety. Buy 12 copies.
1,001 uses if it sounds like a quack. I work in marketing. I don't know if you know that.
Yeah.
No, I don't. I'm a teacher, and I'm full of shit, as all my kids know.
You're a history teacher, is that right?
Well, that's what I'm trained as, but ironically, this year I'm teaching biology, and I have no business teaching it.
Boy.
I got brought in January, and they said, this is what we need if you want a job. And I needed a job. And so I went, sure, I could do this. It's actually going
handouts already.
Yeah, no, kind of. What, online stuff? Sure. No, it's actually going really well, to be honest with you. But yeah, it is not what I'm certified in, but it's going well.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I grew up, not too far from Rochester. I grew up in Beacon, New York. Are you familiar with that?
Yeah, it's around Syracuse, isn't it?
No, it's like closer to the city. It's like halfway between Albany and the city. It's like near Poughkeepsie.
Yeah. I must be thinking of another town that starts with a B around Syracuse.
Yeah.
Sorry.
We're still pretty far, but no. Upstate New York. We considered ourselves upstate until we.
Yeah, you're the upstate. We're Western New York.
You get past, was it Westchester County?
We're Finger Lakes, Finger Lakes / Western New York.
Yeah, it's all good.
There you go.
So I didn't get, when I got my daughter, she was 13. So I missed all the good stuff. So how is being a new dad? How is that going?
Oh my God. It is like the best thing ever. My wife and I, when we got married, we said, we're not financially stable. Let's be responsible adults for a change and not have a kid until we've kind of like settled into careers.
Wait, hold on. Whoa. I'm not letting that go for a change. What? Why? What else is in your past, Matt? What's for a change?
I was making a living as a poker player. She was like a bank teller. We were barely making rent, it was not a stable lifestyle.
Okay.
And so then after 10 years, we were like, all right, good, we got it. Matt's journalism career is well established. He's doing pretty good. My wife got her nursing degree for a 4-year degree, and
bless her.
Fucking
nurses for fucking nurses, man.
Nurses for the win.
Absolutely.
And she embodies all of those reasons that we celebrate nurses. And so then we were like, all right, well, let's have a kid, and fertility issues. So we spent 8 years going through fertility treatments trying to conceive a child. And now that he's here, I'm like a really old first-time dad. But I'm so we're both so over the moon about it.
Congratulations to you both. That's amazing.
Yeah, and because my schedule is flexible, I'm able to. She's able to work 4 10-hour shifts. So I look after him for all that time where we don't have to rely on daycare or anything.
That's the best.
And we've just been just delighting in his presence. Every day he's making some sort of trouble for us to clean up, and we do it with smiles on our face.
And it's the best. And it's totally the best, even so.
Yeah, we named him Heron, like the bird.
Wow.
Oh, what a beautiful name.
Yeah, we want a little Triple H.
That is. Oh, what a cool name.
Thank you, Melissa.
Oh, Mazel Tov.
You don't have to call him that. Just call him Triple H. That's
Triple
actually
H.
cool too. Yeah.
H cubed.
Yeah.
We've been H squared. This is
He's got so many. Oh, he's going to have to do the finger things with that, man.
Finger guns galore.
Yeah, he's going to have to be finger
so
guns
many finger guns with that name.
He's fantastic.
Yeah, totally, absolutely. You have to.
And I never thought I would measure a child's worth by how capable they are until I found out how capable my son was. He's like killing it in play groups, I take him there. Everyone's like, he's 16 months old. He looks like he's 3 years old. And I'm just glowing in it. My head gets so big at these things. Yeah, he's that kid.
Oh, he's that kid. Okay.
He's got the emotional restraint of a 6-month-old and the body of a 3-year-old.
Sounds like my ninth graders.
I know. I'm like, I don't know. I think I know plenty of adults like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's all. So there's another reason for y'all to buy the book. Come on, it's for Triple H, man. Do it.
Yeah, that's right. Do it for my son.
Yeah.
And it's fun. It's zombies, it's leeches, it's lasers.
It's aliens. Pew pew.
It's aliens, yeah. Oh my God, yeah. We didn't even talk about the aliens.
I know that's actually one of my favorite ones too. We didn't even get there, but trust me, folks.
I felt
it's interesting.
I just didn't want to do. I didn't know how much to talk about the actual, what you talk about in the book. I didn't want to. I don't know what I was supposed to give away or not. So, and the main reason is because I'm lazy and I hate editing, and I just didn't want to take anything out. To be honest with you, man, I was just leaving the door open for you to talk about whatever you want.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, I just don't want to fucking edit, man. I just really
so go ahead.
No, well, I was going to change the subject a little bit to something a little bit more general. I don't know how much I consider this to be journalism, but I just noticed this week And we had already scheduled this, but it just that BuzzFeed laid off a bunch of people. And
yeah, I saw that.
Yeah. And so, I mean, and my political work is mostly local, although it's been chilled out since the pandemic a little bit. But so I've dealt with the local Gannett outlet. And I'm just wondering what you thought in terms of what is the state of journalism? I know it's a pretty broad, esoteric kind of question like that, but someone who's in the middle of it, who, yes, you're writing books, but you're still doing articles, right? Or are you just doing books?
I'm doing mostly books now.
Okay.
Still have some opportunity to do freelance articles, but they slow down the books, and so I try to do the books as much as I can. But yeah, no, I worked in several newsrooms over the years, and it is a struggle.
Speaking of capitalism, yeah.
Yeah, speaking of capitalism, right? Like the problem is essentially, professional legacy media organizations do better journalism than most startups, particularly kind of politically motivated startups, right? And the citizen journalism has some really great aspects to it, but if you're looking to an entity that can tell you what's true and real and relevant and present it in a relatively objective way, that is what legacy media does. And sure, there's political biases and all sorts of flaws with it. But one problem is that there are all these upstarts that are doing things cheaper and online and with more pizzazz and kind of like stealing the thunder of these legacy organizations. And the other is that the business model, like the advertising, and subscription model, is not working. Very, very few newspapers are going to make it through the window, through the keyhole of where of making that business model works. And so I've been advocating for 10 years that American newspapers, they provide a public good, and they need a funding source that kind of relies more on that, like NPR model. You see public grants being given out for all sorts of good things. You see donor organizations, and legacy media has traditionally avoided all of those funding sources because they bring ethical problems. They bring potential conflicts of interest. But I think that those conflicts of interest can be navigated, and they can maintain their integrity. But they have to tap into the goodwill that their work produces a little bit more.
Matt, I thought you were walking up that line, man. I thought you were talking about nationalizing the press. I was like, oh, are you really going to go there, dude?
No.
It's all right, comrade. I'm with you. It's okay. All good.
Only up to the line. Only up to the line.
All right, no, that was good. I like how you did it. I was like, wait a minute. I literally was like, is he really going to go where I think you might go? No, you didn't. It would have been awesome if you did. That would have been breaking news.
And why not have a national newspaper? But come on,
right.
That's not going to save the Portland Press Herald or whatever.
No. Oh, our local the Alternative Weekly was bought by our local PBS station.
Oh wow!
Yeah, so that they're all just one big. They bought not only that newspaper, but they bought like the biggest independent movie theater as well. What else do they own? They got the PBS weird. Station, TV and radio. They've got city newspaper now. Whoa. The Little Theater. Did they buy anything else?
I didn't know they bought the Little.
Yeah, XXI runs the Little Theater.
Okay.
Yeah.
So somebody likes the idea of a media empire.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, all PBS too. There was one. Oh yeah, of course. I mean, obviously you have the vampire novel just in case as a backup. But you said when we first started talking about you coming on that you're already working on the next book. So are you allowed to talk about the subject matter, or?
I can't yet because I'm still in conversations with the subjects, but they they're I can say that they're not criminals, but they are quirky and colorful.
That's okay. Well, that's thinning it a little bit. They're not.
Yeah. No, they're I hope it'll be a different sort of book. Yeah, no, well, some of them might be aliens, but not criminal aliens.
Wow. Okay. Well.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I wish I could say more about it.
No, you're totally fine. I just thought I'd ask.
Yeah.
Well, it's glad to hear you're writing another book.
Oh yeah. And it's like again nonfiction. You're not going novel on us, or
no. It's nonfiction. It's in line with the others in terms of like themes and humor and all of that. But just like the people in it are a little bit nicer and a little less damaging. Yeah, Dave, you might be interested to know. I cut a 12,000 word chunk out of Quack. That was the historical storyline. There's initially going to be a whole other narrative running through of that ran from about 1800 through 1830, involving a little known chapter in American history. Have you ever heard of Samuel Thompson?
That name does sound familiar, but I am not.
He was an alternative healer from New Hampshire, who,
of course, New Hampshire.
Basically like did the medical freedom movement then in much the same way that they're doing it now. Like he banded together a bunch of healers with disparate views. His own one true cure was heat. He thought, if you introduce heat into the body, that it cures pretty much everything. So his followers were called steam doctors.
Yeah, you had like a 2 or 3 sentence mention of that.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I kept in just like the briefest mention, but that guy lived a wild life. You got to check that out. He successfully crusaded to overturn every medical licensing law in the country, and set back American institutional medicine by 30 years. And it only came back on track because the folks who were kind of centrally involved with the medical decisions for the Civil War believed in university-trained doctors over charlatanism.
And there's somewhere in New Hampshire, there's probably a statue of him.
There probably is. There probably is.
If it's not an official statue, it's probably homemade in somebody's backyard or a trailer park you were talking about in the other book. I don't know.
It's in a steam bath. It's in a schwitz.
Fair enough. That's awesome. So right now it's just dad duty and working on this book.
That's right. Writing 3 days a week. Dad duty the other 4. Taking my son a week from Sunday to see his mother play roller derby. That's always a fun, exciting topic.
We love derby.
We love
we podcasted from the Rochester team.
Oh, did you really?
Yeah. Oh, we totally down with derby.
I think
we need to go back there. It's been a while.
I think my wife's team went and played pre-pandemic. I think they played the Rochester team in Rochester.
Oh, that's cool.
Okay, if they come back, you just got to reach out, man. We'll totally hook you up.
That's a deal.
Oh, that's amazing.
You could show me and my son the sites.
We have sites here.
Well, I was like, of course, if you come to Rochester, it's mandatory. What kind of food do you eat? Melissa knows where I'm going.
Yeah, Wegmans.
No, I'm not going to take it into Wegmans.
No.
I mean, the food here in this region is pretty sparse. There's not a lot of ethnic diversity in my home state of Vermont. So any ethnic food I am down for.
This isn't, I don't know about
talking about the garbage plate.
Of course, the garbage plate. Yeah, no, I'm not, this isn't necessarily ethnic. It's just,
but we do have a pretty good ethnic.
What's the garbage plate?
So the original, and this place has been featured on a bunch of like cable food shows. Mm-hmm. It used to be a 24-hour, and when I say 24-hour, 365, I'm talking holidays. It did not matter. This thing never closed. Wow. And for decades. Mm-hmm. And it was an old train station in the middle of downtown Rochester. And the guy who owned it, his name was Nick Tahoe.
Okay.
And he used to be there. I won't say 24/7, but it sure as hell seemed like it. And he was this old Greek guy. and he'd come and he'd tell you the worst dad jokes, and he'd sit down with you while you're eating, even when you didn't want him to. And back in the day when they weren't as strict with like DWI and stuff, 3:00 in the morning, good luck standing in line at that place. It was just ridiculous.
Yeah, I've done it.
And it was downtown Rochester, so when all the people would come, that's when the prostitutes would hit the parking lot. It was an event. I mean, this was a cultural thing. And so the garbage plate.
It was fun.
Oh, no question. Oh my God, no question.
Time.
I would drive out of there with like, okay, this is a little too much, but I would drive out of there in the summertime when the windows were down. Like somehow my pants would be undone. I'm like, who the hell did that? And it'd be like someone reaching in the window trying to get a date kind of thing. And no, I'm saying that in a good way. But it's not like that anymore. So anyway, the garbage
sounds charming.
Yeah, it is in a way, in a weird kind of when you're 22 kind of way. Yeah, absolutely. And the garbage plate started there, and now every place in this region has a version of it. There's a trash plate, a rubbish plate. We were talking about that last week on the way to the Arts Festival, and the basic version of it is. You have some kind of potato, usually home fries, and then macaroni salad on the other side of this gigantic plate. You could swap out baked beans, although I don't know why anybody did that, but they did. And then
coleslaw. Some people do coleslaw too, which I think that's atrocious too. I think it should be the potatoes and the macaroni.
Yeah, that's the basic. And then you had you could do a couple of hot dogs, cheeseburgers. They started messing with other stuff, but those were the two basics.
And
then for Rochester, everything means mustard, onions, and some kind of meat sauce. That's everything. And then if you ketchup and mayonnaise or whatever, to me is sacrilegious.
That sounds awesome.
Whatever.
That is what I'm trying to think. That's mustard, onions, and meat sauce.
For Rochester, New York. That when you say everything, if it's an old established restaurant, everything means mustard, onions, and meat sauce. And
that's
it's
really
this
funny.
Ginormous plate of stuff, and garbage plate is what it looked like. And it didn't, to me anyway, and again, I don't have the best diet in the world. It didn't matter if you were drinking or not. Yeah, no, they were just
delicious.
And everybody was like, oh, I couldn't move for a week. And I'm like, I've had 3 this week, dude. I don't know what you're talking about. And so, like I said, regionally, it's just a thing. Almost every restaurant has their version of a garbage plate.
There's even vegan versions of it.
Yeah, there's vegan versions.
It's a vegan garbage plate.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, I mean, so usually when anybody comes into town, I wouldn't go to just my own personal political BS. It turns out the son is a little political, and he tends to lean toward the right, and he has...
you go to Dogtown.
Yeah, you can go to Dogtown. You can go to the Stevie T's, which is the same family, but they have a different restaurant on another side of town. It's this exact same thing. But yeah, if you come in, we'd somewhere for a garbage plate. That's a Rochester thing.
That's a deal.
Absolutely. So if
the Rochester team is coming here, you'll have to come support them, and we'll meet you for lunch here.
Yeah, and if your wife's going to have one, definitely after Derby, not before. Trust me, it won't end well if she's eating a garbage plate before Derby. That's just no. and I want Rochester team to win, and I would never sabotage you that way.
Wow,
no,
that's real. That's big of you.
No, there would totally be a cleanup on aisle 4 on that one.
Oh no,
that would not go well. No.
We like you, Matt.
We like you. There's no reason.
That's very kind. Very kind. Well, now I feel special.
Yeah, no,
You're
I wouldn't want your wife having an accident in the middle of the rink or anything. That would be horrible. That's not good.
Oh my God.
All right. So if it sounds like a quack, and by the way, if you're listening to the show, which why else would you be hearing this? But when you're listening, the show notes, we will have a link directly to Powell's bookstore, so you can go pick this book up, as well as the first one, Libertarian Walks into a Bear. We'll have both of them.
Oh, I appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely. Right at the link, and you can get it at Powell's Books. It's an independent bookstore, and you won't be, giving any money to the evil empire and all that jazz. So
support those indies.
Absolutely. So, Matt, I don't know. Anything else you need to plug? I don't know.
No, I don't think so. This has been great.
Selling Amway? No, I don't know. Whatever, dude. Is Amway around anymore? I don't even know if that's still a thing.
I don't think so.
No?
I hope not. I hope
Well,
not. There's better MLLs now.
Yeah, there's so many ML ones anyway.
This has been great. I'm going to have to write my next book faster just so I can come back and talk to you about it.
Oh, no,
You can't
absolutely.
wait.
No, when it's ready, you just holler. We'll come back on and
It'll be fun.
yeah, absolutely.
That's a
I mean,
deal.
I have
That's
a
a deal.
subscription to beer, so it comes to the house. I never even have to leave, man. It's all good.
All right, that sounds good.
All right, cool.
We'll find what other supermodels we can ruin for you, Dave.
All right.
Oh, man.
Thanks, Matt.
All right,
I'm
thanks
much
so
more
much,
mature
Melissa.
now. Ask my wife.
All right, that's a deal.
No shirt, no shoes, no service? No shit. Don't you hate it when the government gets all up in your business when you just want a grilled cheese sandwich? Well, the time has come for a restaurant revolution. Hi, I'm Arthur Friedrich, and I've just opened up the Libertarian Restaurant. There are no government regulations. How did we do that? Well, we don't have any food. You bring your own food, and we don't cook it, you do. There's no one to tip, there's no one to make eye contact with, and there's no one to take out the trash. It's garbage in, garbage out at the Libertarian Restaurant. So go hunt and gather your breakfast, lunch, and dinner and bring it to 47 Freedom Boulevard, right next to Jim's Pelts and Hats. And don't forget, you can get anything you want at the Libertarian Restaurant. You can get anything you want at the Libertarian Restaurant. Walk right in and cook it yourself. Bring your own food, 'cause there's none on our shelf. You can get anything you want at the Libertarian Restaurant.